Hi, I'm Peter Birch. Today we're going to put together this ultimate blue tongue cage thanks to our good friends at Ultimate Reptile Supplies. I hope you enjoy. Welcome to CrittaCam. So for this particular setup we're going to do for blue tongues, we're going to use the large URS terrarium. This bad boy is a really cool product. It's got nice glass sliding doors, it's got a lock on the door, it's got ventilation on the front and ventilation on the lid. Now, we've been spoilt rotten here. We've actually got the lighting has already been put in for us to make it a lot easier. We're using a 5% UVB light. Now I know blue tongues typically don't need UVB, but if you have the opportunity to give them UV, it's always a good thing to give that to them. Now we're also using this bad boy here, one of the URS products, a nice heat lamp. Now, even the better thing is they're all connected with the ES connections from URS, and they're all got light cages on them right here. So that means that they're connected appropriately and they've got plenty of protection if anything gets up close to those lights and tries to burn themselves. Now, we're going to take the lid off because what we're going to do is we're going to stick some substrate in here. We're going to put some nice thick substrate in here, and we've chosen the Chipsy Classic. Now the reason why we've chosen the Chipsy Classic is because, like all Chipsy products, it's pretty damn good. And for blue tongues in particular, because they're a terrestrial species, we need to make sure, and I mean the plastic's pretty thick, so you can see it's pretty well vacuum sealed in here. So blue tongues in particular like a really deep, thick substrate. Now they're really a terrestrial species, and you can see how much you're going to get for your value here with these blocks. So they're a terrestrial species, but in particular these guys like to hide in deep leaf litter and deep grass. Now that gives them the opportunity to do something that they would do in nature, be able to hide and thrive and get in there. So I'm going to fill this up right now. Now, we've chosen the ultimate medium hide rock right here. Now, the medium hide rock is a really awesome product. Now, this hide rock is actually based off a real rock that was found just outside in the Adelaide Hills, where URS was based. This rock is an amazing thing. It's hard, heavy duty, so we need to make sure that when we place it in the cage, it goes in nice and deep all the way to the ground, because sometimes animals will burrow underneath and get trapped underneath heavy objects. Now that's not super heavy because it is fiberglass, it's not plastic. Fiberglass is a little bit more durable for cleaning and wear and tear. Now the reason why we put it down this end of the cage is because I've already planned out that I'm going to put the heat down this end, which means the animal can hide down here. If it needs to get closer to the heat to increase its body temperature to help digest food, because that's what happens with reptiles, he can then climb up on top of this rock, getting closer to the heat source, allowing his body to get more heat, and more importantly, because this is nice, thick, heavy-duty fiberglass, it's going to retain heat just like a real rock, which means he can get belly heating and above heating all in one go. That's pretty cool. So what we've chosen for water is this beautiful Billabong water bowl. I mean, it's aesthetically pleasing, very attractive bowl, and it's not super deep. Now, you've got to remember the type of animals that you're keeping has got to be reflected in the way that you keep the enclosures. Now, blue tongues have got short, stubby legs. They don't climb branches or get up really high. So that means they live most of their most of their life, I should say, on the ground, dragging their bellies around. So we're going to put this down the cooler end of the cage because reptiles need to thermoregulate, which means they need to get hot and cold. It means we don't just keep them at a set temperature. They need to be able to move in and out of heat zones to increase and decrease their body temperature as they see fit. Now, that water bowl's down there, touching the bottom of the cage. The blue tongue can actually walk through the water bowl, have a bit of a drink. More than likely he's going to drag some of that bedding back into the water bowl, so we need to be cautious of that and need to make sure that we keep that nice and clean. Now, if you want to put something else in there just for decoration, I mean, I really do love this skull with small teeth on it. That's pretty cool. A little bit of greenery in there. I'm a bit of a sick guy, I know, but I think that looks pretty cool. And I mean, yeah, it doesn't hurt to put something in there that you feel is going to make that cage a little bit more attractive and a little bit more to your style. I mean, that there is looking really cool. So we're going to chuck that bad boy in there. Some water in the water bowl. Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, like I said before, this cage lid has already got the heat and the UV in it. So, like I described last time or earlier, is that we're going to place the lid so that the heat is down this end and the UV's up that end. So that means the lizard can now hide inside the rock, feel nice and comfortable. He can get nice and warm. When he wants to, he can come out, move around, climb on top of the rock after he's had a big feed and get really nice and warm, enabling his body to be able to digest that food pretty quick. Now we're going to plug all this in, but more importantly, we're going to use a thermostat just to make sure that we don't overheat these beautiful little critters. So we've decided to use the microclimate B1 for this particular application for the blue tongues, and just to make sure that this guy's doing his job and don't overheat the cage, we're going to use the ultimate thermometer, which is going to give us a nice clear indication that this bad boy, the B1's doing his job. And we can also see the cold temperature of the cage and the hot temperature of the cage. Now, blue tongues are pretty tolerant to heat temperatures or hot temperatures. So we're going to make sure that the probe's down the hot side here, that he doesn't get overheated and turn into heat exhaustion. Cool thing is we've already got clips inside the cage here for the probe, which is this bad boy. So that probe can go right down there, close to the hide box, or the hide area that we've dedicated, and we can clip them off, which will mean that that's not going to get knocked around or moved. And while we're at it, we'll open the thermometer. There's an in and out, which is a hot, I use for the hot end and the cold end. And we can put that right beside the probe for the thermostat, which will keep an eye on the thermostat, making sure he's doing his job appropriately. So we just clip all that in there, nice, easy. Close the lid. Luckily enough for us, in the top the URS terrariums is this wonderful little cable area. It allows you to poke your cables out and you can lock the area off in case you have some smaller species in there, maybe some geckos that are pretty crafty little things that'll try and get out. Now we always need to make sure that we plug the heat item, whether it be a hot rock, heat pad or a heat light, into the thermostat. Very important. That way the thermostat can control the power getting to the heat lamp itself. Alright, now we've got the UV light, the heat lamp. Now the thermostat itself, the microclimate, will show you when the heat is on and the power is going to the heat. That's pretty important because if your light's not working and the heat's on and the power's on, well, the light's not going to come on, so then the light needs replacing. So that's pretty cool. Another cool thing, another cool feature really, is this key. This key is an anti-tamper key. Now, if you've got small kids and you've got little knobs and things around and buttons, they usually come around pressing buttons and twisting knobs. This will prevent it, helping to maintain your animal at the appropriate temperature. Now, I know blue tongues like temperatures around about 32 to 33 degrees Celsius. So we make sure we just twist that right there to where we want it. Now, like I said before, we need to make sure that the thermostat's doing the right job. So we'll keep our eye on the thermometer. It's a bit of a mouthful. Make sure that the thermostat's doing the right thing with the thermometer and just keep double checking on it. Now, the only thing we really need to do now is throw a blue tongue in there and watch him thrive. Beautiful blue tongue. Make sure that doors lock themselves into place. Now this guy is absolutely going to love his new house. You're going to be able to sit back and watch him thrive. Now, if you choose to use a bigger enclosure, that's fine, that's completely up to you. Just remember, we've chosen this enclosure for this particular sized animal, and everything here is going to make this guy a very cool and happy blue tongue.